Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I sincerely apologize for the lateness. I try to get here and get started at 2 o'clock on the nose because I respect everybody's calendars, and I really don't want to be a burden with what we do in the meetings. But today's been a heck of a day for legislators, and we've been doing the work of the people, and we do it with honor and commitment. And so we try to make sure that we balance everything. So I apologize for us. And some of my colleagues will be getting on Zoom because they're trying to traverse some other meetings too. But this is only 7 days into the session. And I just want you to know that all of us have done more than 10,000 steps in an hour for the last couple of days. So thank you very much. And thank you for giving us this indulgence. Good morning. Let's start up now. Good afternoon, Erica.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in person and virtually. Today is a not too heavy of an agenda as we are continuing our work of the approval of the JJPOC recommendations that were produced through the 2024. But before we begin, we'd like to first call an acceptance of the meeting minutes from December. And can I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes?
Motion.
moved.
Can you get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, revisions, questions around the meeting minutes from December? Okay, seeing none, can I get a vote voice of approval?
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposition? No. Good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and before we begin, we're going to do a shift to Brittany. Why don't you do that?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Brittany.
Good afternoon. This is just a reminder of the voting protocol for today, as this is a voting meeting. The protocol is that a quorum of 21 JJPOC members must be present. That has been met. Each JJPOC member has one vote on each recommendation. The recommendations will be presented to the committee with the opportunity of appointed members to offer friendly amendments. After the committee comes to consensus on the recommendation language, the vote will take place. The Italian Youth Justice Institute staff will call roll announcing committee member names and in their absence designee names. For committee members joining in person, when called, you will need to turn on your microphone and vote for, against, or abstain from the recommendation. For committee members joining virtually, you will need to turn on your camera, unmute yourself on Zoom, and vote for, against, or abstain from the recommendation. Consensus shall be reached through a majority of members voting yea.
Thank you. I'd like to just open up the meeting with a few remarks, and my co-chair and I both feel it's important that we open up this meeting because there have been so many things going on. There's so many changes, and we've had so many meetings around the state for JJPOC. And I think it's important that we let you know how much and how hard everybody's worked. This past year, the JJPOC work groups and subgroups with consistent and over 100 professionals from all areas of work, nonprofits, state agencies, judicial branch, legislative branch, families, professors, and most importantly, youth came together and met over 75 times this year. In the work groups and the subgroups who look at numerous issues that affected the youth justice system, education, diversion, incarceration, suspension, expulsion, absenteeism, pre-arrest diversion, gender responsiveness, and data sharing. The hours dedicated to those meetings is an immense demonstration of all those who are committed, all who have participated, and all who have contributed. Those hours didn't include the many additional hours that they put in their work, put in drafting, working, providing feedback, documents, and meeting separately, one-on-one with each other to come up to a collaboration along with the Tau Youth Justice staff. This year, the efforts of the work group and subgroup members has contributed to 3 complete reports. 3. This committee has done 3 complete reports: pre-arrest diversion, diversion first, and the re-entry success plan. A set of legislative recommendations are going to be focused on, have been some, and we will finish it up today. Amending the JJPOC membership to ensure that youth and young adults are appointed to the committee as voting members. A comprehensive data collection and review of Connecticut diversion efforts. Collaboration between Post, DESP, and JJPOC in the development of a uniform youth diversion policy. And a collaborative partnership with Post and JJPOC on the development of youth diversion training curriculum that can be part of Post accreditation requirements of local law enforcement. I think that's critical. Today, we will be voting on gender responsiveness and youth reentry, which may be included in this year's legislative package. Before I turn it over to my co-chair, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Commissioner. I guess I'll just call you Commissioner. But thank you all who have given hours and hours and hours to trying to make things come together. It's hard. It's so hard because we've got 2 worlds that have been kept apart for so long. And when I say 2 worlds, I don't mean old and young. I don't mean, north and south. I mean the agencies and the deliverer of the services and the advocates. Those are 2 hard groups to bring together because they have not had that voice. And this forum has given them the voice. And yes, we have a lot of disagreement, but the best thing we have is our commitment and love for our children in the state. Whenever we start to get aggressive or angry at each other, I want you to think about why we're here. It's not because we've been mandated, because you really, if you don't want to come, I'll remember it at budget time. But seriously, we are so passionate and we're so entrenched in our old ways and behaviors. We've got to move forward for our children. They have to see it in our eyes and in our actions. Daniel.
Thank you, Chair Walker. My first comment that I want to share is really to echo what Chair Walker said in the form of thanks to the extensive scope and depth of the collaboration that the work of JPOC represents. The work groups and subgroups are again an unusual coming together on the culminating in work on the eve of the legislative session, and to bring together the agencies and the people and the representatives of the people they serve. And the result of that kind of collaboration here has produced a detailed and intentional set of recommendations and proposed mandatory reports. And we're talking about recommendations for new law or new guidance for the agencies in their relationship to the clients they serve, that is to the people of the state of Connecticut and our children. And I want to thank you for all of the collaboration with recognition of the difficulty and challenge that is to bring together massive state agencies and individual men, women, parents, and children. We're blessed to have some of our young adults here in the room with us, keeping us honest, prodding us, reminding us of why we're here. And I want to thank everyone for that. If I may take a moment, Chair, also to speak to a few things as we culminate this process of producing recommendations in the first days of this legislative session. What are these recommendations? For those of you that may be new to our work here together, a few thoughts. These recommendations are the work product of our work groups and our subgroups. They are critical as we explore best practices, consume research, and as Chair Walker and others emphasized at your anniversary here that I was lucky to be at, I think 2 sessions ago, create for the first time often research that gives ourselves as lawmakers and executors in the agencies like myself and the people of Connecticut sightlines into what is and is not working, what today looks like, and what tomorrow should and could look like. That's often new research and new data that we simply didn't have before you all started this work to create JPOC and carry it out. Policies that inform draft recommendations for the legislature. So that's a pretty remarkable thing that I just want to acknowledge both the works of the groups, the work groups and their subgroups, helping to set the table for your legislators and lawmakers in the legislative session. That's a remarkable responsibility. It takes an enormous amount of work. And as the chair has acknowledged, as we all know, it's really hard because while we're all here, both agencies and parents and children for our kids, our roles in that process are so profoundly different. And so I want to thank everyone for that and remind us that's what we are here and you all are producing together. These recommendations that come to us then are and continue to be reviewed by your co-chairs and as needed, vetted by us. We ourselves as co-chairs, I want to remind you that one of the privileges I've had as undersecretary is to serve as Chair Walker's co-chair here, precisely because we don't work for the same people, precisely because we are not in the same branch of this democracy. We are quite different branches of the same democracy. That's a kind of an amazing thing. It's an unusual thing, and it's part of what makes our jobs so difficult. And I think we're priding ourselves on trying to get along as best we can together. We have a leader of the General Assembly, and you have an undersecretary from the governor's branch, and in particular, the Financial and Policy Management Control Agency, as I believe it used to be called. That's a precious opportunity we have here, but it also makes these gears difficult to manage because we are preparing for the legislative session with children, with families, with advocates, with attorneys, and on behalf of a final vetting process on behalf of your legislative and executive branches. We keep in mind as we're vetting our relationships across advocates, across our commissioners who often join us, if not here in person, with their delegates. To make sure that our recommendations not only are in compliance with the law before we propose them as such, or if should the legislature choose to do so, and that they're implementable, that they're actually workable, right? We have that tension that I think Chair Walker and I try to faithfully represent together between what we want and what we know we can do over the next year as we pass laws that we intend to keep. Final note, these recommendations, as we produce them and as they leave this room and go into the other rooms of this chamber, are then subject to the public hearing process, right? And so for all of that work that you all have put in, getting us to this point, and as these recommendations leave, they simply then go to our lawmakers who are elected by our constituents to then determine which of these recommendations become law and in what form. So that's, I think, our shared, if I could go so far to say, understanding of these recommendations, the arduous work that gets to produce them, and the good faith with which we hand them over to our elected representatives to, as they see fit, turn them into the laws of the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I would just like to say the Reentry Success Plan has been a 2-year mountain of effort that we know consisted of first time one project has worked collectively together with Department of Housing, Department of Labor, Department of Social Services, Department of Criminal Justice, Department of Education, Department of Children and Families, and Judiciary Branch. Numerous nonprofits and other professionals have been part of it. The chairs, Martha Stone and D.A. Garcia, thank you both ladies, have led an incredible effort, besides the number of hours you had to have, into this effort to have this understanding brought before us. It's led to an incredible amount of information by the leadership and held by Kathy Foley-Geib of the Judicial Branch, and to the Branch Support Services Division to accomplish the thorough plan of the JJPOC that we have received. The plan will remain a roadmap for the incarceration work group to oversee and request updates on efforts to enact the many recommendations within it. As outlined in the draft, the JJPOC strategic plan that this committee will vote on in March. An updated version in February will be shared with all to reflect the organizational changes that we've made to minimize the number of work groups, subgroups of the JJPOC, to streamline the important work that everyone is doing and minimize the groups simultaneously discussing similar issues, but continuing to address the needs of our children and families involved in the justice system. Part of our discussion that we have had, my co-chair and I've had with everybody, are certain things that they felt that we needed to do. And that was reducing our committees so that we had more time to talk, but more opportunities to lead in directions, using the underlying reentry plan that was developed. It is going to take time and it's going to take effort, but I know we can do it. And I thank you again for all of those efforts that you have done. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Brittany.
I think that leads us into the first set of recommendations. If we're all prepared to go there, and
Actually, Brittany, can we
Let's
do a
start
roll
with-
call, please? Roll call.
sure,
We should.
Paul,
Paul.
Perfect. So we'll begin with a roll call. As a reminder for the folks who are voting today, if you're virtual, please unmute yourself and turn your camera on. And for those who are in person, please turn your microphone on when voting. So we'll begin with a roll so we can identify who's here. Tony Walker,
Present.
Jeff Beckham, Daniel Karpowitz, Matthew Ritter, Anthony Nolan, Martin Looney, George Cabrera, Gary Winfield,
Here, present.
Steven Staffstrom, Christina Quaranta,
Present.
John Kissel, Melanie Dykes, Craig Fishbein, Cece Marr, Erica Bromley,
Present. Sorry, present.
Corey Paris,
Present.
Henry Martin, Macklin Roman, Ann DeFinius, Patrick Callahan, Matt Lesser, Hector Glenn,
Present.
Jillian Gilchrist,
Present.
Stephen Harding, Paul Ciccarella, Jay Case, Martha Stone,
present.
Catherine Austin, Bernetta Henry, Heather Somers, Tammy Nuzio, Greg Howard, Elizabeth Bizzuto, Tammy Nguyen O'Dowd,
Present.
Gary Roberge, Ty Erickson,
Present.
Renee Semino,
Present.
Patrick Griffin. Thank you, Charmise. Jody Hill Lilly,
Present.
Angel Quiros, Michael Pierce,
Present.
Charlene Russell Tucker,
Charles Hughes as her designee.
Thank you, Charles. Nancy Navarette, Amy Maracino,
Present.
Dante Bartolomeu,
Heriberto Cajigas on her behalf.
thank you. Andrea Barton Reeves, thank you. Manisha Juthani, Colleen Violet, Neil Dreif, Joshua Bernegger, Fernando Spagnolo, Baron Bollier, Derek Gordon,
Present.
Vincent Candelora, Stephen Abagnaro, Gwendolyn Samuel, Christina Guillot,
Present.
Natasha Pierre, Ray Dancy,
Present.
Tawny Cooper Smith, and Betty Ann McDonald. All right, that concludes roll for today. Thank you.
Excuse me, you didn't call me Talitha Coggins, DSS.
Apologize, Talitha. Are you a designee, Talitha? There's one vote for each appointed member, and it's the appointed member or the designee, and I believe you're appointed. Great, thank you. I'll have call Talitha. Thank you.
Kim Bennett is here for Chief Spagnolo.
Thank you, Kim.
Hi, I am here for Senator Summers. Just my first time. I didn't know to do a call for her name. Sorry.
Thank you, Mariah. Who are you here for? Somers?
Yeah, Senator Summers.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else that we might have missed before we start calling votes for recommendations? All right, I think we are all set. Brittany, I'll give you the floor.
Sure. The first set of recommendations come from the gender responsive work group. You should have all received them. I know Rep. Gilchrist is in the room, so I'll turn it over to you if you have any remarks on the recommendations being put forth.
Thank you. Just want to thank all the members of the Gender Responsiveness Work Group for the many hours of conversations that went into these recommendations. There's a lot of knowledge and passion around that table, and just really appreciate folks' commitment to trying to improve conditions here in the state for our youth. Thank you.
So with that, we have the two recommendations, one requiring DCF to report to JJPOC by July 1st and annually thereafter on the implementation of the new STAR plan that was released in March 2024. The report should include currently available metrics, but in September, there should be discussion about expanding those metrics. And then the second recommendation would be that there would be a report submitted to JJPOC March 1st on how many calls DCF is receiving on possible suspected child sexual abuse, including reports of abuse and neglect and out of home care settings, how many of those are substantiated, how many calls it receives, are referred to MDTs, and any gaps in access or capacity to the MDT system.
We're going to open it up now for any questions or comments regarding this recommendation of the Gender Responsive Work Group. There are two. We will be voting for both recommendations as a whole, but just want to open it up for any comments or questions.
I'd like to just thank the members of the Gender Response Group, because there has been a large conversation, and I mean large because there have been a lot of people involved in this conversation. And I thank the agencies that were involved. There was a collaboration and a cooperation between everybody in trying to figure out how do we blend everything together and move forward. And that's what we want to do with this. So I thank you all for what you've done. And it's not over. This is just the beginning. And so let's keep it moving. Thank you. Senator Austin, here's a seat right here for you. Then leave. Kathy? Brittany, go ahead.
Okay, we do have a hand raised, Commissioner, from Department of Children and Families.
I'll be really quick. Just to echo the sentiments, and you all are dishing out compliments, and I just wanted to take a minute to thank you all and Brittany and everybody who worked collaboratively to try to come to a conclusion that we are equally as passionate about really coming together and making sure that we do everything we possibly can on behalf of our kids and families. And I really appreciate the work.
Any other comments or questions regarding the gender responsive recommendations? If not, we're going to move forward for a vote and ask Paul to do the roll call. Thank you.
Perfect. So we'll move forward with voting on the gender responsive recommendations. Tony Walker,
Yes.
Daniel Karpowitz,
Yes.
Anthony Nolan,
Yes.
Gary Winfield,
Senator Whitfield in the affirmative.
Christina Quaranta,
Yes.
Melanie Dykes, Erica Bromley,
Yes.
Corey Paris,
Yes.
Hector Glenn,
Yes.
Jillian Gilchrist,
Yes.
Paul Ciccarella, Martha Stone,
Yes.
Catherine Austin, Heather Somers, Mariah Murphy.
I don't want to vote on her behalf. I'm just moderating.
Great, thank you. Tammy Nguyen O'Dowd,
Yes.
Gary Roberge, Ty Erickson,
Yes.
Renee Semino,
Yes.
Hermes Wolcott, Jody Hill Lilly,
Yes.
Michael Pierce,
Yes.
Charles Hughes,
Yes.
Amy Maracino,
Yes.
Alberto Cajias,
Yes.
Talitha Coggins,
Yes.
Kim Benet,
Yes.
Derek Gordon,
Yes.
Christina Guillot,
Yes.
Ray Dancy,
Yes.
and that concludes our vote on gender responsive. Thank you.
Okay, we are now going to move forward with the incarceration work group reentry subgroup recommendation, and I believe we are giving the floor to the chairs. Charmise Wolcott.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to echo Rep. Walker's sentiments about the appreciation to the reentry subgroup. Everyone knows about the reentry plan and how detailed it was. It was presented in part in 2023, remainder in 2024. It's amazingly comprehensive, thorough, and detailed body of work that addresses key areas that contribute to successful reentry of youth. The reentry subgroup had been chaired by Martha Stone, D.A. Garcia, and today's recommendations flow from the reentry success plan. So first and foremost, I just want to, as chair of the incarceration work group, on behalf of myself and my co-chair, Judge Wen O'Dowd, say thank you to the entire reentry subgroup. So recommendation one focuses on transition supports, which is a aspect of the plan. And it asks JBCSSD and DOC to submit to JJPOC by March 1st of 2025 information that will help determine the need for transition supports by taking a closer look at three key areas. The first is when a youth is admitted to a facility or contracted program, ensuring that necessary transportation assistance to the youth's identified family to visit the young person at the facility or contracted program at least twice a month. The second area is to take a look at flex funds to provide support for families in need for up to 6 months following a youth's return home. Support may include, but it's not limited to, housing assistance, basic needs, transportation, and vocational training. The third area is flex funds to provide youth and their family the ability to relocate if needed for safety reasons, and funds may cover moving, basic needs, and initial housing payments. Additionally, recommendation one asks the agencies, it asks that the agencies inquire with families what they need and submit the recorded anecdote. And lastly, we're asking DOC and JBCSSD to assist in identifying ways to cover the expenses associated with this area of need when it's determined and identified. The second recommendation is on the topic of vocational and employment support, and we're asking for information that will help determine the need in this area. Specifically, JBCSSD and DOC should submit to JJPOC by March 1st, 2025, a list of vocational and employment programming they have and identify the limitations to connecting youth to opportunities in the community. We are asking for information on how they are connecting youth and how many youth are being connected. We're asking for a point of contact at both DOC and JBCSSD who is responsible for knowing the youth who are in job-related activities, their release date, and how many youth released have an employer and or connected to a vocational program prior to release. And finally, DOC and JBCSSD should outline a plan to address limitations and inefficiencies in connecting youth to employment testing opportunities prior to release and during their time and facility. And last but not least, the third recommendation, we're asking for a quality assurance report from OPM on these three areas: transportation, vocational, and employment supports available to youth through DOC and JBCSSD. And the method for this is outlined in the quality assurance logic model reporting outlined in the reentry success plan dated December 2024. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, comments around the reentry recommendations?
I'd just like to thank everybody that worked on that, and I look forward to reading some of the reports and looking at the data and trying to make a very clear direction on where we need to go, especially for services and outreach that we need to provide in the community. So I thank you all very, very much for everything you did. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We will call a vote for the full package, packet of recommendations under the incarceration reentry.
Perfect. So we'll begin the vote. Tony Walker, Daniel Karpowitz, Anthony Nolan,
Yes.
Gary Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Christina Quaranta,
Yes.
Melanie Dykes, Erica Bromley,
Yes.
Corey Paris,
Yes.
Hector Glenn,
Yes.
Jillian Gilchrist,
Yes.
Martha Stone,
Yes.
Paul Cicerella, Catherine Austin, Tammy Nguyen O'Dowd,
Yes.
Gary Roberge, Ty Erickson,
Yes.
Renee Semino,
Yes.
Sharmise Wolcott, Jody Hill Lilly,
Yes.
Michael Pierce,
Yes.
Charles Hughes,
Yes.
Amy Maracino,
Yes.
Alberto Cajias,
Yes.
Talitha Coggins, Kim Benet,
Yes.
Derek Gordon,
Yes.
Christina Guillot,
Yes.
and Ray Dancy.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our vote.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I believe that that concludes all of the recommendations for this 2025 legislative session. So if you all recall, we already voted in December for what was noted earlier this at the start of the meeting, and now these two recommendation packages. In the sense of the process for next steps, we take that language and provide it to our legislators, who then we begin the official legislative process of that and public hearings and so forth that are allow for open testimony and so forth. We at the Tau Youth Justice Institute will be releasing fact sheets for all of you, as well as sending out some notifications, friendly reminders when our bill, is called up for some type of, for a hearing and so forth, because we do hope that you continue to support these through the process. And Brittany, or Paul, are you ready to give the results of the recommendations? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so both recommendations passed. Gender responsiveness passed with 27 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, and 17 not present. And reentry passed with 27 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, and 17 not present. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your support. And I look forward to working further. And I believe we have some very interesting meetings. I just want a lot of you to know that, I don't know, for some reason lately, I've been getting calls from other states. I didn't know we were that popular here. But it was just really nice. A couple of states have called and asked if they could watch. Can they watch on YouTube? Okay, all right, on CTN. Okay, but they want to see how we do this, and they also have said Connecticut is really showing all the states the way. So I'm excited about the recognition that we're getting, and it's all because of everybody here today. So I wanted to share that with you in this moment. So thank you very much. We got some exciting stuff coming up.
And then just one quick housekeeping. Just want to note that the February JJPOC meeting has been changed. Typically, as you know, we meet the third Thursday of the month. This meeting will take place, the one for February will be February 27th. And I want to make an announcement that, no, it's the wrong date. Make the announcement that that February meeting is going to be led by our young people.
Yeah.
So please make every effort to attend. There will be a youth panel at that point, and they are been working really hard with my staff, with Brittany and Andrew and Paul in getting that panel presentation and meeting together. So, and they will also be releasing for the first time their youth JJPOC report. So,
Fantastic.
thank you.
Anything else? And
That's it.
I did one other question. The meetings that are going on with the youth out in the communities, I think CTJA is doing them. Is that schedule out now?
Actually, Christina is here. So we do have, so there may be two efforts going on. So there's the community expertise work group that we contract through the JJPOC funds to work with 5 providers out in the community, and they're here present today actually. They are the ones that work very closely in not only training the youth and ensuring that they feel prepped and ready, and parents feel prepped and ready to be engaged in this work, but also to help to feed the work that we're doing in the direction of the work. So that's the community expertise work group of the JJPOC. I'm not sure, Christina, if you're on still, you may be referring also to some of the work that the Connecticut Justice Alliance does and some of the visioning sessions that they do. Christina?
I am here. Thank you, Rip Walker. Thanks, Erica. Yes, part 2 of that Justice and Safety for All vision session tour has been started. We are working inside of a couple of the prisons that house young people under 18, currently talking with them, gathering their feedback. And then in my position as co-chair of the Community Expertise Work Group, we are all as a group figuring out how we can get the voices of the young men, both in Manson, the young women in York, to our table in a meaningful way. And we will be having more dates around the state. The Connecticut Justice Alliance will, in Stamford, Hartford, Norwalk, hopefully New London, maybe New Haven, to continue our vision session tour that was started last year with some education on the legal system and how it works, CTJ's priorities, and really the goal of hearing what community members want and need. So we're excited for that. And I'm going to say one more time, everybody that's here on the call today, virtually or in person, has to be here next month because all the young people will be here and it's going to be a great meeting. So please show up. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great. We've already scheduled the room, right?
I think because of the legislative session, we can't really confirm the room yet until closer
It's
to
going to
that
be a
date.
very large group.
Yeah. We may want to use the bigger room. I don't know. It's kind of.
Yeah, if we can get the bigger
Okay.
room, see if we can get that
Okay.
because I just thought about that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. And it is only 2:42. Have we ever gotten out that early? No. I think everybody's earned it. Have a great weekend. Thank you.